Most people think the direwolf was just a bigger grey wolf. Heavier, stronger. A wolf with the volume turned up. That is what it looks like. That is what the name suggests. That is wrong. The direwolf was not related to the grey wolf the way you think. Scientists spent decades assuming it was a close cousin. When they finally sequenced its DNA, the results rewrote everything. What looked like a wolf was something else entirely. Built differently, thinking differently, hunting in ways that nothing alive today does. This is the full story of the most misunderstood predator in the history of this planet. And almost none of it is what you expect. To understand the direwolf, you need to understand something called convergent evolution. It is one of the most interesting things that happens in nature. Convergent evolution is when two completely unrelated animals, living on different parts of the planet, facing similar problems, arrive at similar physical solutions completely independently. Dolphins and sharks both have streamlined bodies and fins. They are not related. One is a mammal, one is a fish. They just both needed to move fast through water, and evolution gave them a similar shape. The direwolf and the grey wolf are the same story. They both needed to hunt large animals on land. They both ended up with 4 legs, a powerful jaw, sharp teeth, and a similar body size range. They look like cousins. They are not cousins. Not close ones anyway. When scientists extracted ancient DNA from direwolf fossils and sequenced it properly, they found something surprising. The direwolf's lineage had been separate from the grey wolf's lineage for somewhere between 5 and 6 million years. That is an enormous gap. Humans and chimpanzees split from a common ancestor around 6 million years ago. The direwolf and the grey wolf are about as closely related to each other as you are to a chimp, which means everything scientists had assumed about direwolf behavior based on modern wolf behavior was built on a false foundation. It looked like a wolf. It was something far stranger. The direwolf was not dramatically larger than a grey wolf. This surprises people. Movies and games show it as a monster, twice the size of anything alive today. The reality is more interesting than that. The direwolf was roughly the same height as a large modern grey wolf, but significantly heavier. More muscle, denser bone, shorter legs in proportion to its body. Those shorter legs matter. A grey wolf is built for long-distance running. It chases prey across miles of open ground, wearing it down, waiting for it to tire. The grey wolf's long legs are efficient. They cover ground without burning too much energy. The direwolf's legs were not built for that. They were built for something else. The direwolf was built for power at close range. Short, powerful legs that could drive force downward. A chest and neck that were proportionally thicker than a grey wolf's. And a skull that was wider and deeper, built to anchor jaw muscles larger than any wolf alive today. The bite force of a direwolf is estimated at around 1,200 pounds per square inch. A grey wolf bites at around 400. The direwolf's bite was 3 times stronger than the animal most people compare it to. It was not built to chase, it was built to hold and crush. Here is the part that most wildlife content skips entirely. The direwolf's skull was large, but the space inside dedicated to brain tissue was proportionally smaller than in a grey wolf. This is not an insult, it is information. It tells us something specific about how the animal operated. Modern wolves are flexible thinkers. They adapt their hunting strategy based on the situation. They switch prey, they read terrain. They make decisions in real time as conditions change. That kind of flexible thinking requires a certain kind of brain structure. The direwolf's brain was shaped differently. It was optimized for something more mechanical, more committed. Think of it this way, a grey wolf is like a smartphone. It can run many different apps depending on what you need. The direwolf was more like a very powerful, single-purpose machine. Extraordinary at its specific function, less able to switch to a different one. That specific function was killing megafauna, the giant animals of the Ice Age. Horses, camels, giant ground sloths, mastodons. Animals that weighed thousands of pounds and required enormous sustained force to bring down. The direwolf was not built to think its way around a problem. It was built to overpower it. In Los Angeles, there is a place called the La Brea tar pits. It is a series of natural asphalt seeps that have been trapping and preserving animals for over 50,000 years. Scientists have pulled millions of fossils from it. It is one of the most important fossil sites on Earth. More direwolf remains have been recovered from La Brea than any other large predator at the site. More than saber-toothed cats, more than American lions. Researchers have recovered over 4,000 individual direwolves from that single location. That number is strange, and it tells a story. Animals do not walk into tar pits by accident very often. What happens most commonly is that one animal gets stuck. Another predator, smelling an easy meal, approaches. It gets stuck too. More come. More get stuck. The trap compounds itself. What La Brea records is not random death. It records predator behavior. It records which predators were most attracted to the signal of a struggling animal. 4,000 direwolves. The signal of struggling prey was something the direwolf could not resist or reassess. It committed every time. That level of commitment to a trapped and struggling target tells us something about how it hunted. It was not cautious. It was not flexible. It was relentlessly, mechanically, perfectly designed to attack large animals that could not move freely. That strategy worked for thousands of years until the large animals disappeared. Around 10,000 years ago, the Ice Age ended. The climate shifted. The great megafauna of North and South America began to collapse. The giant ground sloths disappeared. The mastodons disappeared. The American horses and camels disappeared. The prey base that the direwolf had spent its entire evolutionary history building itself around was gone within a few thousand years. The grey wolf survived because the grey wolf could adapt. It switched to smaller prey. It changed its hunting strategy. Its flexible brain ran a different app. It found a way through. The direwolf could not do that. Its legs were not built for the long pursuit of smaller, faster animals. Its brain was not wired for constant strategic adjustment. Its entire physical structure was a perfect answer to a question that the world had stopped asking. The last direwolf died approximately 9,500 years ago. Humans were already in North America at that point. We do not know if we watched it happen. We do not know if the last populations were isolated and struggling, or if the end came faster than that. What we know is that the most successful large predator of the Ice Age, an animal that had existed for over 100,000 years and dominated an entire continent, disappeared inside a geological blink. It was not weak. It was not outcompeted by something better. It was a perfect machine built for a world that stopped existing. And when that world ended, the machine had no instructions for what to do next. Nothing about the direwolf was normal. Not its origins, not its body, not its brain, not the way it hunted, and not the way it ended. It was evolution's most committed experiment, a single answer refined to absolute precision to a question that time eventually stopped asking. If prehistoric predators and what made them different is what keeps you watching, our last video is exactly that. Watch baboons tear a spotted hyena to shreds next, a predator that survived everything the savannah built against it, until it met something evolution had been quietly building for millions of years.